one, we're going to look at parts C and E. For E, we'll just look at how to do the transform, but let's go ahead and do a review on multiplication. A times B means we're taking matrix A times matrix B, like such. So we write matrix A again, and it has to come first. Order is important with multiplication of matrices. And then B second, so we're going to multiply by -1, -1, 1, 0, 1, and x. Now there are just a couple questions that do have a variable in the portion, one of the variables in one of the matrices, so we are not able to use the calculator on it, and that's why, but it'll be a simple multiplication, smaller matrices, but let's go through this. So you do need to know how the process of a matrix multiplication is. So we take the first row times the first column, that's the multiplication, and then we add as we go. So we're going to do that. The key part is being able to anticipate what our answer is going to look like. So this first matrix is a 1, 2, 3 by 2, and we're multiplying that by a 2 by 3. These numbers in the middle, they need to be the same, which they are. They're both 2. We can think about them, they sort of cancel out to tell us what our answer is. Our answer is going to be a 3 by 3. So over here we'll get ready for our answer with a 3 by 3 matrix. We'll make it big enough so we can go down 3, 1, 2, 3 columns, and we'll kind of fill in these columns as we go. So each time we multiply, we take the first row. So we're going to take -2 and 0, and we're going to multiply it by -1 and -1, that first column. That's why the dimensions have to be such, if otherwise things wouldn't line up. So I do it this way just to kind of keep it organized. So -2 times -1 is going to be +2. 0 times -1 is 0, and then we add the result together, so I get a 2 right here. And then I take this first column times, first row times the second column. So I'm going to go here, try not to get too many markers. So again, I'm going to take -2, 0, and I'm going to take 1, 0. So from that second column, I'm going to multiply these two and add the two together. So -2 times 1 is still -2. 0 times 0 is 0. Add them together, we get -2 here. Okay, and then I take -2, 0, and I'm going to multiply it by the last column, 1x. I get -2. I get 0. I add those together, I get -2. Next I'm going to come, let's go ahead and change colors. I'm going to come with this second row times the first column. So -1, 2 times -1, -1. We're going to multiply. This gives us a +1 and a -2. We add those together and we get a -1. Take that second row, second column, we get -1, we get 0, add those together, and that's -1. Second row again, last column, -1 times 1 is -1 plus 2x. Now that cannot be simplified, they're not like terms. That is the answer. -1 plus 2x. And then let's go for a third color. We're going to take this last row times the first column, second column, third column. Okay, so -1, -1. That's that third row times -1, -1. gives us a positive 1, add them together, we get positive 2. Negative 1 times 1, 0 gives us negative 1, 0, add them together, we have negative 1, and then finally negative 1, 1x, we get negative 1 minus x, and that goes right there because they're not like terms, nothing we can do. Okay, let me just talk about this transform. We won't go through multiplying and subtracting. There's a lot of things in there, but the reason I include this is there's a question about a transform. So we will see, how do we transform B? Transform is just changing the rows to columns and the columns to rows. So I'll just write it out here. And so when you do this transform, this column becomes a row, this column becomes a second row, and the third column becomes a third row. So now we have a 3 by 2 instead of a 2 by 3. So this, if I take the transform of this, B transform would be this. So transform just means change the rows and columns. You can test this out. The calculator has a option to do this, but again, it doesn't work with an x. What you could do is replace that with a number if it's just a transform, and see how that works. So you'll be able to see that this matrix becomes this matrix. And the way you can test it out, replace the x with a 2. You'll see the 2 is here, and then at the end you could just come back in and, oh, it's not a 2, it's an x. So transform is a fairly simple operation, but it can be done by the calculator as well. So let me put that down. We'll show the answer, make sure to double check, and it looks like that's good, that's good. And just be careful with your signs and everything, those can get messed up, right? Actually, I did this twice, and it's so easy to make errors. The second one, if you went through and did it, you can match up your answers here, but the purpose I having you do E is primarily that you can do the transform. If we didn't do the transform, we wouldn't have been able to do this multiplication because of the shape of C is a 2 by 2. So for B to multiply by C, I need this to be a 3 by 2, not a 2 by 3, right? Because we just emphasize that this transform becomes a 3 by 2. We can now multiply a 2 by 2 because the middle dimensions here, when they're put together, those are the same. If I try to do this first one, this is a 2 by 3. And if I try to multiply a 2 by 2, well, these middle numbers, they don't match, so we can't multiply it. So that's the only way we could have multiplied this, is with B transform. Okay, so concepts. Thanks.